People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr., founder and partner of Heischman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. Jon specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's Jon Heischman Sr.
Welcome. You've tuned into the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, Jon Heischman. I get many calls and inquiries about Social Security. So I thought I would take the time for this show to address some Social Security basics, which should help you with your planning and will give you a good idea of how I work with my clients and their Social Security planning. And first of all, you need to know that the decision about when to begin receiving Social Security retirement benefits is probably going to be the most significant decision in the retirement income planning process. The actuarial system used to calculate each individual's Social Security benefits was intended to be age neutral. In other words, if an individual lives until his or her exact life expectancy, there is no advantage to delaying receipt of benefits or starting early. All would be equal. So determining a retiree's longevity is one of the big unknowns in retirement planning, which makes it difficult to determine the ideal start date for those of you that are getting ready to retire. And it could apply to those that are retired but haven't started their Social Security yet. We can't predict our longevity. I talked about this last week, where we can look at a mortality table actuarially, and it will tell us our life expectancy. But we can't go by that today because there are so many variables. Yes, it will give us a good idea, but I don't like to project a client's income based on a mortality table, because what if they outlive that by 5 or 10 years? Framing the decision. Each individual should frame the decision of whether to file for Social Security retirement benefits as an insurance decision, because Social Security works like an annuity, provided needed income protection against the longevity risk or the risk of outliving one's money. In fact, Social Security could be the best annuity available because it's inflation adjusted and is guaranteed by the government. But you must keep in mind that this decision, it is not a one-size-fits-all. All retirees need to consider a number of factors. Everybody's different, whether they're still employed, whether they're going to be impacted by earned income penalties, and their health status, marital status, personal wealth, their risk tolerance, and how investment savvy. All of these things will need to be considered. You can claim as early as age 62. And I think most everybody knows the earlier you claim for that retirement benefit coming from Social Security, the less you're going to get. It rolls up 8% per year every year that you wait. So there's always been that question, why claim early? Well, first and most importantly, some will have no choice but to begin their Social Security benefits at age 62. And this is primarily due to a lack of other sources of income, lack of retirement accounts, and pension. The challenge of funding what we call the bridge period, this is between retirement and the beginning of Social Security benefits, cannot be underestimated. Individuals need to balance the positives of buying a larger inflation-adjusted income in the future with the need for current income. Others, they're hesitant to spend down their retirement savings early in retirement as it may result in less liquidity, which could occur later in retirement. And they're also going to have less money to leave to their heirs. Why delay? Aside from the obvious benefit associated with the increased payments due to the accumulation of delayed retirement credits, as I mentioned a little bit ago, deferring the receipt of Social Security income has a number of additional benefits. To give you an example, one is compounding of cost of living adjustments, which they call COLA. Another example is the reduction in one's overall investment risk and investment expenses because self-managed accounts are drawn down early in retirement. Delaying can also be a tax-savvy strategy for the retiree. Determining when to take Social Security is a complicated decision. It's a hard one to make. You need to work with an advisor that knows Social Security and can apply that knowledge to your situation. And quite frankly, I don't see how a planner can advise or determine when you should take Social Security without taking everything into consideration. All right, what do I mean by that? Taking a look at all of your assets that you can draw income from, any vested pension plans, other potential income. Let's say you own some property and you're getting income from that. Or maybe you inherited an IRA and you have to take that money within a 10-year period. So all of this has to be taken into consideration to determine the best time for each retiree to start their Social Security income. I have spent a lot of time taking courses in Social Security planning in order to be able to advise each of my clients correctly as to when is the best time for them based on their situation to start Social Security. It's not a guess or automatically taking it at your full retirement age. So maybe you're in a situation where you're getting ready to retire, or you've just retired and you haven't taken your benefits yet. If you don't think your advisor or planner is briefed on Social Security planning and you want to get the best advice that is in your best interest on maximizing your Social Security, I want you to call me and we can talk about your situation and what's going to be best for you. And I don't want you to feel obligated in any way because you're not. I'm not going to charge you. There's no cost. It's my way of saying thank you to my radio listeners. And if we develop a relationship, that's great. If you just want my advice for Social Security planning, that's great as well. So I'd like to hear from you. 888-426-0177. Let me give you that number again. 888-426-0177. And yes, I do have information about Social Security. It's not going to get detailed as to your situation. That's where we have to sit down and work together. However, this information will give you the basics and some knowledge that you may not have received prior to listening to my show. And I'll be happy to have that sent to you. Just request, like to receive Social Security information. 888-426-0177. In determining your Social Security, one thing I'm going to do for you is to calculate the break-even age. This is the age at which the total amount of the higher benefits the retiree will receive from delaying benefits equals the total amount of the lower benefits they will receive at that point from starting early. Without trying to adjust for inflation, I can show you simple calculations that is often used to determine whether you should begin or delay receipt of Social Security benefits. So I encourage you to take advantage of this benefit I offer because it'll help you to determine when to take Social Security benefits. Because remember, after a short period of time, you can't redo it. And it's like anything else. We got to get it right the first time so you don't pay a big price later on in retirement. I'm going to take a break, so I want you to stay tuned. I'll be right back. And during the break is a great time to call the number with your questions. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Avoiding mistakes can save owners of IRAs, 401ks, and TSP plans, as well as other retirement plans, a fortune in taxes, penalties, fees, and loads. These potential mistakes are addressed in the free book entitled Top 10 IRA Mistakes. This is Jon Heischman from the Safe Money and Retirement Show, offering a complimentary copy by calling 888-426-0177. Again, that's 888-426-0177.
Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. To contact Jon, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's Jon Heischman.
This is Jon Heischman. I'm back for the second part of the Safe Money and Retirement Show this morning. I have been discussing Social Security income and the importance of planning this income for your retirement. There's a lot to consider, and some key points in a retiree's planning that the majority of retirees or pre-retirees don't realize. And unfortunately, they find out later and they can't make changes. Here's one example that we have to look at when determining the best time to start your Social Security income. And this is called the Earned Income Test. So for those who are still employed beyond age 62, delaying receipt of benefits also makes sense due to the Earned Income Test. Now, this test impacts those who begin their Social Security benefits before their full retirement age, and they're going to have income in excess of a threshold amount. And today, this isn't uncommon. Example, an individual age 62, that's the first age you can take Social Security income. They start their income, but they're still working, or maybe they need or want that extra income and they're working part-time. Earned income is defined as income from wages or net earnings from being self-employed. It could be investment income, pensions, capital gains that would apply to this test. As of 2023, those who are under their full retirement age and working will lose $1 in Social Security benefits for every $2 earned above the earnings cap of $21,240. Now, this is as of 2023. Basically, what they're saying is you can't earn over $21,240 prior to your full retirement age if you're going to receive Social Security benefits. In the year the worker reaches full retirement age, this reduction is reduced to $1 for every $3 earned above the earnings cap of $56,520. Once a worker obtains that full retirement age, they may continue to work and earn money without it impacting their Social Security benefit. So I'm working with a potential client or a client, and their thought is to start receiving Social Security at age 62. We've got to determine their full retirement age, take a look at what their earnings are going to be, and figure out the tax. Then it comes down to, do you really want to start receiving Social Security benefits at 62? As I say often, everybody's situation is different, and it may be a situation where they don't have any choice because they need the income for whatever reason. Let's say you're age 64, and I'm going back to 2023, and already began collecting your Social Security benefits. And maybe you want to take a part-time job, and that part-time job earned you $23,600. The annual Social Security payment would be reduced by $1,180. So total income earned $23,600. The earnings limitation of $21,240 puts that individual over the limit of $2,360. Divide that by 2, that will equal $1,180 taxable. That was a little bit of a surprise, but my point is we need to find that out prior to filing for Social Security income. Again, it happens a lot, and that's why it's important. If you're at the point where you're thinking of filing for Social Security income, there's some things that we need to talk about relating to your situation. And I want you to give me a call because we need to do it right the first time and take into consideration what the potential disadvantages are going to be. 888-426-0177. The number again that you can reach me, 888-426-0177. Now, obviously, the best way to avoid the earnings limit is to delay your Social Security income benefit until full retirement age. But as I mentioned earlier, some clients will have no choice but to begin benefits as soon as they're eligible, especially if they don't have other savings. But if there is a way to bridge that gap between 62 and your full retirement age, it could be to your benefit. That's what we have to figure out. There may not be a solution, but I will tell you this from experience. Many cases, we can find a solution to generate income for 4 or 5 years, depending on your full retirement age. And most are going to be around 66, 67, full retirement age. I anticipate that to increase in the future, but we do have to find that out when we're doing the income plan and taking into consideration that income test. Something to keep in mind that while this earnings test may appear to be a 50% surtax, in fact, any lost amount is ultimately recovered in the form of a higher monthly benefit once the worker reaches their full retirement age, like, for example, 67. So a better way to look at this, we might say it's a suspension of benefits, not a permanent reduction. Got to get you at that full retirement age, if at all possible. One other note, that the earnings test also impacts spousal benefits. And I'm not going to get into this because it has a tendency to be a little detailed, which claiming strategies are detailed. As a matter of fact, one of the designations I have related to Social Security planning, one of the chapters has a manual entitled Understanding Social Security, Military, and Government Benefits, is about 160 pages of detailed information. That's why it's critical that you work with a planner that knows Social Security and can work for you planning the maximum benefit that you can receive based on your own situation. I think it's mandatory if you're going to do retirement planning and to be able to advise what's best. When all is said and done, the best way to make a claiming decision is to incorporate it into the overall retirement income plan. I focus on the issue of increasing longevity and being able to educate on what and when is the proper time to claim your benefits. That's going to wrap up today's show, and I hope it has given you ideas to think about in getting the maximum out of your Social Security benefit. Here's my number again, 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177. Thanks for joining me this morning, and be sure to tune in next week at the same time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr. To get in touch with Jon, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heischman Financial Services, visit their website, HeischmanFS.com. That's HeischmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr.